Yes, some live flushing. I never thought I would be so excited about this. Chronic blushing, skin flushing, erythrophobia, and vulnerability. I'm gonna talk about that today, and I got some real stuff happening right now, so this is good. Stick around. Oh, too far. Hey. I just had to get up and turn the ceiling fan on because it is about 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. The sun is very much on this side of my house, and it is a hot box in the upstairs office. So I just turned the ceiling fan on to try to cool down the temperature a little bit. And Sunday fun day, a little IPA action that was brought to me from my good friend and her husband as they drove back from Georgia, I think the Atlanta area. They drove straight back towards, they live right down the street, drove straight back today and brought me a little care package for me and my husband of IPA beers because I love IPA beers. And so this is a little special one from Georgia. So I'm going to have my little Sunday hangout with you and talk about vulnerability. So I was up here collecting my thoughts, and I just felt like the heat start to come over my chest and start to get a little like splotchy. I scratched right there. So that one doesn't count. I actually scratched that. But you can totally see there's some skin flushing going on. Excuse me while I show you my biceps. I didn't do that on purpose, I promise. But I just, when they're that massive and you see them, you're like, whoa. Anyway, I thought it was cool that I was actually having some live flushing because I don't think I've had that in quite a while, besides just some still shots that I've sent you guys, but not actually on video. So I think when I think back about the pattern of these videos, anytime I've done them earlier in the morning, I don't normally have this unless I just came off of a meeting at work. But I do have them anytime the sun gets on this side of my house. So my house sits east to west. The front side is in the west. That's where it says, right? Yes. And the east to the back. So the sun rises back there. It's not super hot. And by the time it gets like high noon, a little bit over, I don't even know if that's what high noon means, but it's noon and the sun is high. It makes sense to me. But as the evening starts to set in, it's nothing but just like a yard out there, some trees, but the sun stays on this side of the house for quite a bit. And we have a window right there, and it is coming right in here. So all of that to say, it just gets super hot in here. And I've noticed a pattern that I do start to flush every time that I do a video this late in the afternoon. And the ceiling fan was off, and I'm pretty sure my husband doesn't have the air cranked up. Let me send him a message because I'm really hot. I'm gonna call him.
Hello?
Hey.
Okay.
Can you turn the air down? Make it cooler?
Yeah.
Thank you, doll. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know right now why this is happening, and it is because the temperature is hot up here. And we already know that my skin pretty much has a consistent flushing response when I'm hot. Before I started this video, I was up here kind of posting some stuff to social media, taking a look at some little notes that I have over here, and it's still the middle of the day and I've got a lot of things to do, and I think I just started feeling like I need to hurry up, and you cannot rush creativity. It's just one thing you can't rush. So I think I started to feel a little bit of pressure, as well as it's just hot up here. So that all makes sense as to why there would be a little bit of skin flushing. Now I wish there was just no skin flushing at all. But I know that if it comes to a reaction in the body being uncomfortable, then that perceived threat is there, and I'm gonna have a flushing situation. So there's that. Let's see. It's not super bad. Not super bad. I feel like it looks worse in that camera than it actually does when I keep doing this because there's a mirror right there. I'm gonna say right there. Mirror. I'm looking in the mirror. Today I want to talk to you about vulnerability and skin flushing because earlier in the week I had a one-on-one meeting with my first CBT patient. Am I allowed to call it a patient? Test project? Client. We're gonna call it a client. I think that's how you say it. So anyway, one of the things we were doing is we were just talking back and forth, and I was listening to her story and a lot about the backdrop of things that happened to her in her childhood and kind of what she thinks got her to where she's at now. One thing I really like in my approach to cognitive behavioral therapy is I will listen to you, but I also like to share a little bit about myself when the time is right, if the time is right, if the moment sets the stage. Because sometimes I think, just like when I created this channel, people wanted to know they weren't alone. So there's a time to listen and there's a time for you to talk, and there's a time for you and someone else to talk back and forth. So I didn't take up a ton of the allotted time with my story, but I just really felt it impressed upon me to share something very vulnerable about myself with her. Now, this is not a person that's associated with the skin flushing side over here. So when I talk about erythrophobia and chronic blushing and skin flushing, I think I've told you all before that nobody knows that I have this channel except for my husband and my daughter and one of my very best friends, the one who brought me this right here. And even she has not seen the channel. My husband and daughter have seen the channel, but my best friend has not. She doesn't ask about it. We don't talk about it. My functional neurologist knows that I created a channel. And I think that's about it, pretty much. Because I'd never wanted this place to be a space where I felt judged or nervous about my career or other things in my personal life. I didn't want to have to hold back anything here. So if one of them find this channel one day, or like my CEO, then sorry, not sorry. My whole point is, as she was telling me her story, we were talking, and then I started talking to her back, and I said, because she's seen me in different professional settings, and I said, let me share a secret with you, because she was telling me about how she actually just got hit with all this anxiety recently, and she started having this skin reaction. How crazy is that? That she was having this skin reaction, and it really was happening up her arm, and she was having like just this flare up all up her arm, and of redness and splotchiness. And she went to the doctor, and they did a panel of tests, blood work on her to see if she was having some sort of allergic reaction to anything, and they have identified that it's just stress. She's going through a really stressful time right now, and so that's exactly why she's having the skin rashes and reaction. And it really is more of like a stress hive thing for her. But as she was sharing that with me, I was like, this is just too good to not tell her about myself. So in the middle of her own session, I started sharing something very vulnerable with her, and that was, you may have noticed that a lot of times in the professional settings, I wear a very high neck shirt. And yes, those shirts actually are flattering for my body type, but I actually wear it because I'm constantly having that histamine reaction in my body, or that flushing, whatever the cause of it may be, that's constantly happening in my body. So the stress that you're feeling move through your nervous system, and it's making your nervous system very overactive right now, creating this rash. I have that all the time with triggers sometimes, and without triggers, it just happens. And as I started to share with her about my own story with skin rash flushing, I just became so tight and restricted and trying to breathe through it because I was being so vulnerable with her. And there's part of this being a CBT practitioner or a life coach or whatever you are, you want to uphold this, like, I am who you think I am. And I've got it together, even though I'm not trying to come off like I've got it all together, but if you think I got it all together, then so be it. But to kind of open up myself and let it be known, and as I was telling her, I started flushing like crazy, and I had on like just a t-shirt, and we were on a Zoom call, and I was like, can you see this right now? And I came really close, and she was like, yeah, I do see it. And I was like, that happens to me all the time. So I understand what you're going through. And I just felt like we connected so deeply. And then at the end of the call, it was a great call, but I was just like, what just happened? I actually utilized her time and space to share about my own, I don't like to call it issue. I'm trying to rechange vocabulary around certain words, because did you know that your vocabulary is tied to different neurological pieces that send messages through your body based on one word? So certain words I'm trying to change, like my issue. The word issue, say it out loud and see what it does to you on the inside. If you say, I've got an issue with, it immediately creates this roadblock and obstacle and a whole neurological network and system of messages just by saying the word issue. Soapbox moment over. So I became very vulnerable and shared something with her. And it just feels like we related so much more deeply. And when it was over, I thought, like, I'm exhausted because I feel so open with you all, and I can talk to you all with such freedom and flexibility and just all out. Like, I'm flushing right now, and for the sake of our community, I'm glad I'm flushing. This makes me happy. I was like, I couldn't get my camera on fast enough because I was like, oh, I gotta hurry up. It's gonna go away. I want to get it captured. I want you guys to see it in real time because I feel so accepted here and understood and safe. And so trying to translate that and move that into full empowerment in other areas of my life where people don't necessarily understand this, but being able to talk to her and kind of share my secret with her, I realized that I mean, I guess she was going through it too, to a certain degree, different scale, but it's still a flushing of the skin and some sort of stress reaction in the body. I was able to be vulnerable and share that with her, with that fear of judgment, with that idea that she could judge me and laugh at me and point at me, or whatever it is our brains think that people are going to do. I'm not sure what we think they're going to do. But it really comes down to a shame factor of, will you still accept me once I share this with you? And she did. And we connected deeper because of my sharing that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you about vulnerability, because some of you who follow this channel can see that as much as I've shared my own experience here, the more upbeat I've gotten, the more accepting I am, the more it's not that big of a deal to me. Mentally, it doesn't have as much of an impact. I'm not just feeling like I'm dying all the time and I have no one to talk to. And to know that you and I, this group here, this tribe here, has been able to share back and forth. And so many of you have messaged me on Instagram as well. It's a little more intimate space to be able to talk back and forth, and messaging there have told me that you're just so grateful to know you're not alone. And it feels so good to be able to talk for the first time about how you're feeling about everything, because you've never been able to share with anybody, or if you do, they don't understand. And I absolutely understand. So I just wanted to tell you, somebody posted, I think it was in a comment the other day, that she had a job interview. During this job interview, she started to feel that warmth happening up her neck and her chest, and she just addressed it in the middle of the interview. She told the person who was conducting the interview, this is what's happening and this is why, and he was like, oh, no worries. And then they just carried on with the interview. That's amazing to me. That actually made me giggle when I read it, because I was like, hell yeah, that's amazing. Being able to bring awareness, so that sometimes it's just about addressing what's happening. So somebody's not like, is she dying? Is she having an allergic reaction? Did she have peanuts for lunch? You just address it. This happens. I have an overactive nervous system, so obviously I'm a little nervous here right now, and you're going to see me flush if I start turning red. So I'm not dying. Just wanted you to know that. Anyway, and then carry on. I know what bravery and what courage that takes. And yet when you shared it with me, it felt like, that's not a big deal. That's awesome. We should all do that. And then I know someone else shared with me recently on one of the platforms that they recently shared this information, I believe, with their in-laws, with her husband's family, and they were all out at lunch or having dinner or something like that, and that's one of her like trigger points, is being sitting at a table with a bunch of people, and whether it was happening or not, she made herself sit there and go through that dinner with that exposure therapy, and knowing that she was accepted there. And it was still hard for her, but normally she said she would get up and walk away and go to the bathroom, but she didn't do it this time. So I think there's a balance between that. Some days there's just like, you're like, here I am. And other days you may need to get up and go to the bathroom and just take a moment or get some cold water and cool yourself down. But you know that. It's kind of like when you're doing a workout and they have the beginner version, like, what is it? Some moderations, and then they have like hot and heavy, go for it. But when I do those workouts from a YouTube video, they say, you choose what feels good to you. You choose what's good for you. They can't tell you which one to do. You know which one to do. So if your hip is hurting that day or your knee is hurting that day, you should probably not do the advanced version of that workout. But that's up to you. Nobody can tell you which one to do. I just wanted to share that with you today, because I thought that sharing about vulnerability might encourage you to just stay on your path and continue bringing awareness and talking about what you're going through when you feel safe to do so. And if you're still in that place where you're just not feeling safe to do so, then know that you are safe here. You are safe here, and you belong here, and you are safe to heal here. And I promise you that. So I hope you've had a great weekend. And to all of my beautiful, red, flushing, chronic, blushing, erythrophobia, fear-induced friends, social anxiety, and all those other things that we will not label ourselves with, but we will identify and acknowledge and dare I say, welcome from time to time. We're all in this together. So cheers to you, and happy Sunday. And if you're on the other side of the world, it's probably like Monday already, which still blows my mind. But then I hope you have a great week, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.